solve the following equation using the square root method. And here we are given the equation 2x plus 1 squared plus 7 is equal to 0. So recall that when we're using the square root method, the first thing that we want to do is isolate that perfect square. So to isolate the perfect square, 2x plus 1 squared, we begin by subtracting the 7 from both sides of the equation. So now that we have officially isolated that perfect square, in step 2, we apply the square root method by taking the square root of both sides. So taking the square root of both sides of the equation, we can observe here that the square and the square root on the left-hand side are going to cancel each other out, leaving us with just 2x plus 1. And now on the right-hand side of the equation, we can rewrite this as plus or minus the square root of negative 7. And so let's pause for a cause here. We know that the square root of a negative is not a real number. So this is actually going to produce complex solutions. So let's recall that we can simplify this square root of negative 7 as follows. So separating 7 out into the product of positive 7 and negative 1 allows us to rewrite this as the product of two square roots. And here we can see that number I coming in. So we can take this simplification and rewrite our given equation as 2x plus 1 is going to be equal to plus or minus the square root of 7 times the number I. And now we're ready to start solving for x. So subtracting 1 from both sides, we're left here with 2x is equal to negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 7 times the number I. And then last but not least, to isolate x, we can divide both sides by 2. Now, since we have complex numbers as solutions here, we want to make sure that we're rewriting this in the standard notation for a complex number. So in order to do that, we want to take our denominator 2 and distribute it through to each term. Now, remember here that we have two distinct solutions. We have the positive case and the negative case. So we can say that our official final answers, our first answer is x is equal to negative 1/2 plus the square root of 7 over 2 times the number I. And then in case 2, we have that x is equal to negative 1/2 minus the square root of 7, all divided by 2, times the number I.